Today we're going looking at the rhizosphere. Okay, we're looking at a diagram of the rhizosphere that's frequently asked in the exam, and a lot of the students in my weekly classes got this wrong in the exam papers, so let's have a better look at it in a small bit more detail. Okay, so what is the rhizosphere? So the rhizosphere is a zone of soil surrounding a plant root where biological and chemical properties of the soil are influenced by the plant root. Okay, so the main type of symbiotic relationship that is taking place here is taking place by the mycorrhizal fungi and the plant root. Okay, so a symbiotic relationship, that means that both the mycorrhizal fungi and the plant root are working together and both of them are benefiting. Okay, mycorrhizal fungi and the plant root are an example of a symbiotic relationship in the rhizosphere. Other examples of symbiotic relationships are your rhizobium bacteria and your clover, and the microorganisms that take place in the rumen. Okay, so that's what the rhizosphere is. This is a perfect diagram here. I'll just put the laser on. There you can see this is the plant root, and then this orange zone is your rhizosphere. Okay, area around your plant root. Okay, and like what your mycorrhizal fungi is going to do is basically extend your roots out to access nutrients deeper down within the soil horizons, allow it to take up more nutrients, allow it for greater water retention, and also for the selective uptake of nutrients, prevent the uptake of heavy metals such as lead. Okay, and again, going to be very good for binding the soil together, improving soil structure, reducing the chances of erosion. Now, let's look at this diagram down here, the difference between our endorhizosphere, our ectorhizosphere, and our rhizoplane. Okay, so what we have here is we have our endorhizosphere. Now, I want you, so I'm circling this here, I want you to replace this diagram here with this diagram over here to my left, okay? So the endorhizosphere is the area of the cortex or endodermis, okay? I have an itchy nose, so someone must be ready to go fighting. So it's the area of the cortex or endodermis of the root, basically the skin of the root, where the microorganisms or your mycorrhizal fungi can occupy spaces between the cells and make use of the nutrients released by the roots. Okay, so you can see here I have it coloured in green. These are the spaces that the microorganisms are going to occupy. So that is the skin of the root, okay, the endodermis. Okay, so I'll label this in red. So this is the endorhizosphere. Okay, in here this blue section is your endorhizosphere. Then we move out to the halfway point, okay, the middle of the road. Okay, so the middle of the road is going to be known as the rhizoplane. Okay, so the rhizoplane is the external surface of the roots adhering the soil particles. Okay, so it's the halfway point between your endorhizosphere and your ectorhizosphere. So rhizoplane is the external surface of the roots adhering, okay, or another word for touching the soil particles. Okay, and then lastly is our ectorhizosphere. So naturally ecto is going to be on the outside, so our ectorhizosphere, sorry, I'll label me rhizoplane here in the middle. This is our orange section here. And then lastly is our ectorhizosphere. So our ectorhizosphere is the area of the rhizosphere which extends from the rhizoplane to the bulk part of the soil. Okay, so we go the endorhizosphere, then the halfway point is a rhizoplane that's touching the soil, and the ectorhizosphere is the furthermore that is extending to that area of the bulk soil. Okay, so we have our endorhizosphere, which is the skin of the root, the rhizoplane is touching the adherent soil particles, and then the ectorhizosphere is touching the bulk part of the soil. Okay, so that is a way here. I want you to look at this diagram, go zoom in. That is a way of how I want you to represent the different types of your endorhizosphere, your rhizoplane, and your ectorhizosphere. Okay, now again, you do need to draw this larger diagram here to show what the rhizosphere is, but when you're trying to differentiate, instead of just drawing arrows randomly everywhere and pointing everything the same as the endo, the rhizoplane, and the ectorhizosphere, try and draw it like that and really show off to the examiner that you know what you're talking about. And for any more videos on Ag Science to help you get a H1 next June, make sure you're commenting below, and I also have a free study guide and a free guide on how to write up a H1 project below. Thanks a million.